On this episode of Jerks Talk Games, we make assumptions about video games that aren't even out yet as we talk about some of the things we watched from E3. And welcome to Jerks Talk Games, a podcast where two programmers talk about video games that they love. My name is Chris Tankersley, and with me today is my co-host, as always, Gary Hockin.
Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Gary?
Very hot and sweaty, but yeah, apart from that, pretty good. Thank you very much.
Maybe one day you can move to a country that actually believes in air conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, we're about 32 degrees here, which is like 90 US, and yeah, we only get 3 or 4 days like this a year, so there's nowhere we're never ever set up to cope with this kind of stuff. But hey, it is what it is. We'll get through it. It's all good.
Well, that's good. Don't melt.
I wouldn't be British if I wasn't complaining about the weather, right?
That's true. Yes.
So.
So this week we've actually got quite a large list of things to talk about. E3 was a couple weeks ago, so we figured we'd kind of run down through the announcements. I picked out most of the things from the 4 big kind of video announcement things. We're not going to go in depth on every single one of them, but Gary, you have not watched any E3 coverage things, have you?
Well, I was going to catch up with a couple of the YouTube shows that kind of round up what was going on, but in the end, I thought it would be better if you just told me what happened and we captured my reaction. So it may sound a bit weird, but we'll see. It may work or it may not. So I've read certain tweets about some things, so not everything is going to be a complete surprise. But I deliberately haven't investigated anything, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, I'm going to be honest, this year really wasn't the kind of big, awesome reveal that previous years have been, and I don't know if that's just because, well, it probably has to do a lot with the fact that we're in the middle of console life cycles. The only thing new we have is VR, which on the PC has been out for a while, and it's, not that it's losing steam, but it's not quite the big, like, oh my god, this is awesome thing that it was when it came out a couple years ago. And then we've got PlayStation VR, which is gaining quite a bit of steam. And then you have the Switch, which is the only brand new entrant in the list. Microsoft, so let's start off with them, since they were the first ones to kind of have a real announcement out of what I consider the big 4. They finally announced Project Scorpio, which they're calling Xbox One X, which I saw this pointed out on Reddit. The initials now spell Xbox.
Yeah, good.
So that is some clever ass marketing
from
Microsoft. Whoever came up with that. So they announced the Xbox.
Is this the equivalent of the PlayStation 4.5? Is it? Is it the kind of, well, look, we've not really announced a new console, but it's a little bit better?
Kind of. So they did the Xbox One S, which was the slim version of the regular Xbox One. So you don't have the big giant jet engine takeoff fan that the Xbox One has, which is one reason why I don't have it in the living room anymore. It's loud as all get out. And they switched it to some newer hardware, which they were touting as way more powerful than anything we've seen before, which I guess is technically true. But then you have this mode where Microsoft seems to be taking the Xbox down the road of a PC, really.
Yeah.
So one of the big changes, which I don't have in our show notes, is the Xbox One operating system is now based off actual Windows 10.
Oh, okay.
So it is not. So they had the original software that came out, and that was the Xbox One operating system. Then last year they switched it to some components based off of Windows 10, and now it's basically Windows 10. So they can do a lot more cross-selling and cross-play between them, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, It is cool. I have to say that is. It would be intriguing to me if you could play PC games on your Xbox One, and I don't mean the equivalent, but things like indie games, stuff like Factorio that we've talked about before. It would be intriguing to me if it opened the door to that kind of thing. Because one of the reasons I've never bought an Xbox is I already have a PC. And it seems like, you know, I'm basically buying worse versions of the components I already have and having a restrictive operating system put on it. So I kind of never bothered with that kind of thing, but...
Yeah, it does open that possibility up, because now I think most of the games they announced will be either cross-play or cross-buy. So you can buy it on either side and then play it on the other one. The crappy thing is, when you do that, you have to buy it through the Xbox store, like if you're on the PC.
Okay.
The Xbox store is a horrible experience. I bought Forza last year, so that way I could play it when I still had Windows 10. And the entire process is just jank. Like, the interface sucks. Paying for things sucks. It's not a smooth experience. So if they're really going to push this, they need to kind of clean that up.
Yeah. I mean, the intriguing thing for me here is that the top thing in our show notes, I know that we try and give the air of the fact that we have no idea what we're doing, but believe it or not, we do actually have show notes for every show. So, I mean, that's amazing. But
you're exposing the business, Gary.
Yes, I'm sorry. But my favorite, the first bullet point under the Xbox One X says slightly better Blu-ray player, which is a huge announcement at E3. That, I mean, is Blu-ray still a thing? I didn't even know. So,
yeah, you now have an Ultra Blu-ray player, which I don't think the PlayStation 4 Pro has.
Well, there you go.
I didn't look up the PlayStation 4 specs, the 4 Pro specs, but. So you're getting a slightly better Blu-ray player, and that feeds into the HDR stuff that they added in the Xbox One X.
Well, I guess that's kind of intriguing. And there's a few games were announced. For the Microsoft?
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of games. So on the hardware side, we've got a faster CPU, new GPU, all that kind of stuff. What people have kind of gone through and looked at, it's only maybe about 20% more powerful than the PlayStation Pro, the PlayStation 4 Pro. So Microsoft's whole big thing about blowing Sony out of the water. Turns out most of the cross-platform games, they can't squeeze anything extra out of it. So like when Destiny... Go ahead.
Sorry, mate. I just feel like, oh, it's 20% more powerful than PS4. Brilliant. If I put a version of the same game on both consoles, would you be able to tell the difference, is my question. You know, because in 90% of the cases you wouldn't. It's just, you know, it is one of those really weird things to try and pitch. Look how powerful our console is, you know.
Yeah, and like Destiny, Bungie, the Destiny developers, they talked about how when it finally comes over to Xbox, it's going to be locked at 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
And it's locked on 30 frames per second, too, on the PlayStation 4 Pro. It's not a failing of the Xbox hardware. But what they said was the little bit extra that they could try to squeeze out of it didn't make a difference.
Yeah,
so
I would imagine.
You would want to go from 30 to 60, not 30 to 40. And so, like, it's not that big of a difference.
It's not worth the effort for them to develop the X. Yeah, I get you. Okay, cool. I mean...
So speaking of Destiny, they announced Anthem, which is a complete and utter Destiny ripoff. So, but you can fly in it. It looks way more open world than Destiny itself did. Have you played Destiny or any of those kind of online co-op multiplayer games?
No. Destiny is a game that I was fully intending to have a go at once it dropped in price. But, I mean, I think it's like, 3 years old, something like that now, the original Destiny. And, yeah I actually... completely I thought, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind giving that a go. I'll buy it when it drops in price, and then promptly forgot all about it. So probably should give that a go because it's probably fairly cheap now. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, and Anthem looks really nice. Everything at E3 looked really nice. I mean, that's kind of the point. They're gonna make it all look. They're all gonna make it look nice. Anthem looks kind of interesting. It is Destiny to its core. A lot of the menus and stuff look the same. A lot of the gameplay looks the same.
And it's interesting because I don't want to skip too far, but while we're talking about Destiny, Sony did announce Destiny 2 as well, right? So
yeah,
Anthem it'll be competing directly with Destiny 2 then. So it'll be kind of intriguing to see.
So it'll be good to see which one actually kind of comes out to win. I know a lot of Destiny players were not happy with the road that Destiny 2 took, so maybe they'll switch. We'll see.
Cool.
They announced Assassin's Creed Origins, which is going to take place way back in the past. So instead of us slowly creeping toward the present time, they shunted us all the way back in time, kind of in a Far Cry Primal sort of way.
It's like I think it's
like Egypt or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like trying to stay one. I am genuinely like, these are my first impressions because I haven't looked at them before, but it looks like it's sort of ancient Egypt style-y. Looks kind of cool, actually. I mean, I've only played one of the Assassin's Creed game, which was the piratey style one. I don't know if there's more than one piratey style one, so excuse me if there is. But I really enjoyed that because it's pirates and I love pirates. But yeah, I would definitely. It's, again, so many games, so little time. I have absolutely no problem with that franchise. I just have never found the time to invest into these games. I don't think I ever completed the Assassin's Creed that I played, but would play if it became available. Definitely would look to play that.
Yeah, Black Flag is definitely the one that I've played the most as well. One thing I didn't like, and I don't have a whole section for Ubisoft's thing, but they seem to just at this point be making the same open world game with a different skin on it. Like a bunch of the ones that they showed, the interfaces are all basically the same. Like the Assassin's Creed stuff doesn't look a whole lot different than the Watch Dogs 2 interface and gameplay, which is not necessarily bad, but they're basically pumping out the same game. The setting and stuff does look pretty cool, which is nice. One game I am looking forward to, assuming I buy an Xbox One X, because that'll be the one to play it on, is Forza Motorsport 7. As always, looks amazing, and I'm sure it's going to play amazing.
Excuse me, I'm yawning over here.
I figured as much.
We don't have video today, but I can assure you I am yawning over here. Yeah,
the silence was deafening.
I mean, each to their own, right? My opinion.
Yeah,
not something I'll definitely will look forward to, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah. Though looking at it, so like I bought an Xbox One for Forza Motorsport 6. 7 doesn't make me feel like I should upgrade to an X, which is kind of sad, but it'll save me $500. One game that does look amazing, which Gary might appreciate, is Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yes.
Did you play the first one?
I did not. No, I am guilty of missing that one as well. I don't think it was available outside the Xbox, was it? Am I wrong?
No, I believe it was on Steam.
Oh, okay. I don't think it was available outside Xbox on release, because I definitely remember looking it up to see if I could buy it on PC, but there wasn't a version available at that time, so maybe it released later. But yeah,
could be. And the Steam sale starts tomorrow, so
well,
you
then
can probably pick it up for cheap.
I probably will.
But
that's another game to add to my Steam library that I'll never play. Cool.
But the gameplay they showed and the visuals look amazing. The first one looked wonderful. This one is going above and beyond that, and I'm sure that the gameplay and everything is going to be just fun. And for a lot of these, they didn't show a whole lot of gameplay. Ori was one of those. One thing that I was surprised to hear, considering that it's still in beta and early access and whatever we're calling Steam Greenlight games nowadays, is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Have you seen this game at all?
Yes, I have. I've seen a 90-second trailer for it on YouTube. Looks pretty unbelievable, to be fair. Yeah. Is that as far up as being playable now, is it? I thought it was well, obviously you just said, but it looks really intriguing, to be fair.
No, there's a couple channels that I watch that play it fairly regularly. It has rough edges, but it's It's actually a pretty decent battle royale style game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just surprised that it's coming this quickly, because I wouldn't consider the game anywhere near polished enough to go on a system. And it's still like a $40 early access game, which is one reason why I never purchased it or even attempted to play it.
I mean,
So it's going to come to PlayStation eventually, and that'll probably be when I get it. But
you know full well, Chris, you don't even need to finish games these days. You just like put them in perpetual beta and charge $40 for them, right? It's kind of normal. So yeah,
I know, but usually you don't get that with console games, because you got to go through rigorous testing, make sure it's not doing stuff like constantly rebooting the box, which I'm sure that this is not, because the Player Unknown does seem to actually care about the game. They take tons of feedback, and it looks fun to play.
yeah.
I'm just surprised that an early access game is getting a full on and a fairly big spot in Microsoft's lineup.
Yes. Indeed. Cool.
We do have pirates, so we had Sea of Thieves. I missed the trailer for this.
See,
I don't know. That was the one you talked about.
Yeah,
earlier this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I am still. The only thing I'm doing with Sea of Thieves is absolutely, definitely not going to play beta to spoil it for myself. I want to hold off. I'm really looking forward to this. It's like an MMORPG for people who don't know. But
well, you'll be happy to know it's not coming out till 2018 then, so you've got plenty of time.
That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. I would rather wait and it be good than it be rushed. I'm okay with that. The really cool thing about this that I've read a bit around this and seen a couple of videos is, you'll need to play as a team in order to kind of crew the larger boats and things. So this should be a ton of fun if you can, if it might not be so much fun for me with my 0 friends, but if you've got friends you can play online games with, this looks like it'll be a really, really good game. So what was the E3 was just announcing a date for this, was it?
I think so, yes, because I think last year they didn't announce a date per se.
No.
Just that, yes, we're working on it, and then now we have a date of sometime in 2018.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, the couple screenshots I saw look pretty nice. And then one that I am kind of looking forward to, which I may get on the regular Xbox, is State of Decay 2. This was a survival zombie game that Microsoft pushed really hard on the Xbox One. I think it came out on the Xbox 360 first, and then you could get it on the One, which is where I played it. And basically you have a group of survivors, and you have to go out and... like you're doing, like, you have to collect resources, you have to save other people. It's not just a here comes a bunch of zombies, attack them. It's kind of that survival aspect of it too. So State of Decay 2 looks like they cleaned up a lot of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Did
State of Decay have bad reviews, or am I thinking of something else?
No, it did. It was not the greatest performing game on PC, and even on the Xbox One, it wasn't super great. But I think that was the first real game from that developer too. So Microsoft kind of said, "Ooh, this looks nice," and then propped them up and helped them a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And State of Decay is not a horrible game. It's not a great game, but for what it is, it's pretty good.
Sweet.
So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, there's always room in the world for another zombie game, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and when it's not just shoot the zombies with the guns, that's always fun, because you have resource management. Like, you've got, do you take on the horde of zombies when you've only got 3 shotgun shells, or do you try to skirt around them, or get a car and plow through them, or like it gives you a whole bunch of different ways instead of just we got to shoot the zombies because a whole bunch of them are coming at us.
Sounds good. Cool.
So
my absolute favorite and most exciting announcements are coming next. So yeah, let's go.
I'll admit I was kind of underwhelmed with Bethesda. I was hoping that we would get a new Skyrim announcement, or maybe an interim Fallout announcement, which I guess we kind of did on both fronts. Kind of skipping around our list a little bit. They did announce Fallout 4 VR.
Meh.
Yay. Yeah. I get what they're trying to do, but Fallout 4 is not going to play well in VR. The biggest hang up is the movement. So Doom VR looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
The movement mechanic in that is when you go to attack something, you rush forward and you punch it, you shoot it. You can stand where you are and shoot, or you can do the I can't remember what they called them, but the move where you run up and you do like the superpower,
the glory kill,
to him. Glory kill. Whoa. So you can use that to move around, which is pretty cool. Fallout 4, not so much. I was really hoping for like a Fallout 4 New Vegas style game.
We're a bit laggy here, but it's fine. I'm not a big lover of VR anyway. It doesn't excite me at this moment. I don't feel like we'll get a killer game at some point that will not have the VR feeling tacked on, and that will be a big change, I think. But at this moment in time, VR doesn't excite me. But
first person shooters don't work, and it's all because of the movement mechanic. I've played racing games. They work amazingly well in VR. Some of the games like Job Simulator and some of the quirky kind of games like that. There's one called Super Cop where you play a literally giant cop, and you're picking people up and like arresting them. That mechanic works really well.
Yeah, I can imagine it works.
Taking a first-person shooter and dumping you in the world doesn't work because you cannot move.
But I think I think for VR, we need a AAA game that is VR only. It's VR first. It's not like, let's make a game that we can sell to VR and non-VR users so that we can hedge our bets. It needs a AAA title by an established studio to make money before people will actually start to think about game mechanics in a VR type way. It hasn't happened yet, but fingers crossed.
Nope. We are getting Dishonored 2 DLC, Death of the Outsider. You played Dishonored 2 quite a bit, right?
I played Dishonored quite a bit. I still haven't bought Dishonored 2 is on my Steam wish list, I think, or one of my variety of download platform wish lists. And I'll wait until I get an email saying something on your wish list is on sale, and I'll buy it at that point. I will buy it because I enjoy Dishonored 1.
Yeah, the trailer looked pretty cool. You're playing as someone else, not the main lead characters. Like the dad and the daughter. You're not playing as either of those two.
Yeah.
But it looked really nice. Dishonored 2 itself looked really nice, which was good.
Cool.
They announced Evil Within 2, which is really scary looking, and it's not a jump scare game, but it's a horror game.
It doesn't.
I don't really have a whole. No, I didn't play the first one. The first one didn't really do much for me. We're getting Skyrim for the Switch, which they announced with the Switch.
This is like the biggest take home for me from the whole of the announcements. Like Skyrim for the Switch is exciting for me. That is so exciting.
And you can use all those amiibos you bought to get Zelda crap in the game.
Well, that's great too. I am entirely excited about being able to carry Skyrim around in my backpack. That is brilliant.
No, I am too. Like, I was one of the Let's Play channels I watch is doing Skyrim, and I really want Skyrim in my hand. Like, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way at all, because sometimes to me it's very hard to tell. Skyrim is one of those games I'm going to buy at launch, despite the fact that I have bought it, 8 times. One kind of game franchise that took a twist, which I didn't quite see coming, is Wolfenstein 2. So the game seems way less serious than I would have expected from a Wolfenstein game compared to the other games.
Well, let's be perfectly blunt here, right? The original Return to Castle Wolfenstein, whatever the original was called, Castle Wolfenstein, was very tongue-in-cheek, right? It was designed as a very, very tongue-in-cheek game.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So
I haven't played them much.
So the first ever one, which can be almost said to be the parent of first-person shooters, really. I guess. I mean, things came.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the old,
the original Castle,
like the non-Windows ones.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So that was very, very tongue-in-cheek. The original game, that spawned this whole series, was super tongue-in-cheek. Nazis and Nazis with robot bodies, and it was all done in the worst possible taste, but it was done to be humorous. It absolutely was. You get to I mean, I don't know if we're going off topic into dangerous waters here, but you get to kill Hitler as a boss fight.
Oh, yeah.
So it was always done in as a bad taste joke. So
and it was Mecha Hitler, wasn't it?
In the original, you get to actually just kill normal Hitler.
Oh, okay.
But that's... I've always thought that Wolfenstein's always been a bit tongue-in-cheek. So maybe they've become more overt with it. Or maybe I've read something into these games that wasn't there. And it tells something about my psyche. But it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so the new 3D, like the newer 3D ones where they kind of did the reboot, were kind of really dark and gritty, in sort of a pseudo, I don't want to say horror, but like it was, you had some more mystical elements, but it was much more dark, than what the old like DOS games were. Though this one seems to be much more aware of itself. The trailer ended with a guy tripping on acid while he and a pregnant lady were rescuing somebody. And you had in the trailer the guy following like the little frog thing that he was seeing as the acid trip started.
Okay.
And picking it up and telling it that it's going to be okay while the pregnant lady's yelling at him to go, like they need to go do whatever it is they're doing.
I'm kind of excited then.
It looks pretty good. It takes place in the U.S., so the Nazis have actually made it over. I don't know if they necessarily have won because it seems like there's a lot of resistance fighting. I don't know if it's resistance to occupation necessarily versus like the front has just moved. But it looks pretty good. It looks comical enough. I may play it just to kind of get some of the funny aspects of it.
Sweet.
But that was kind of it for Bethesda. I mean, not a whole lot of stuff that I was super interested in. Skyrim we already knew about.
No announcements for anything on the Elder Scrolls front then. There's rumors
because
there's rumors abound that they are working on the next one, isn't there? But we'll see.
I'm sure that they are. The only announcement they had, we will talk about in a little bit here with Sony, which Bethesda didn't even announce. So
no, okay.
Go.
Then.
Actually, let's leave the one I was most excited for last. So we'll go ahead and go to Sony. So Sony did announce for PlayStation VR a whole bunch of VR games. One of them being Skyrim VR. So there's your Elder Scroll game.
Yeah, okay, but it's the same as Fallout. It's not going to work, is it? So
no, it is not going to work at all. Well, with the PlayStation VR, you do use a controller, so you could move around in it. Versus the Fallout 4 VR, which uses a Vive and stuff. So it may be better. I'm not going to purchase it all, and this is not going to make me buy a PlayStation VR. And none of the things that they showed off for PlayStation VR make me want to get a PlayStation VR. I'm sure.
Agreed.
From the people I know that have had it, they enjoy it. I am not interested in spending the money on it. It is a good entry level VR system if someone is wanting to get into VR and they don't want to spend the money on a Vive or they don't have a computer big enough to run a Vive. But that was basically the only VR game I saw out of there that was halfway interesting. Realistically, Sony just played trailers for a good hour. Like, no announcements. Yeah. I mean, you had some kind of cool looking games. Like we mentioned, Destiny 2 was announced. Looks really cool. For the people that played Destiny, a lot of people did not like it. One of our listeners, Gemma, loves Destiny. I believe she'll be picking up Destiny 2. She's somewhat excited for it. There's Uncharted DLC. Looked nice. I probably should play the Uncharted series at some point. I've heard it's pretty good.
Well, I bought the latest one, which I have
4, yeah.
in my hand. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
Yes.
We're on a recommendation from my brother, who loves them. And it is... As I've explained to you before, it's like the old... I can't remember... what's the name of the Laserdisc game? Dragon's
Lair?
Dragon's Lair, yeah, the old Laserdisc game where you had to like just press the button events? At exactly the right time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a game, mate. For me, it's just not.
So now you can get DLC that you're not going to buy. It looks nice. I mean, the Uncharted series looks nice. If anybody wanted to pick it up, I know like our local GameStop has the the PlayStation 4 collection of like the first 3 games for like $10, and then you can pick up 4 for pretty cheap.
I think. I mean, let's be fair. The FPS part of it is okay. I just don't like the sneaking around or the climbing bit where you just basically just climb the right path and you don't. There's no skill to those cutscenes, but the FPS bits are okay. So, yeah, not for me.
Horizon Zero Dawn is getting DLC called the Frozen Waste, which I'm gonna guess you're gonna go north. I've not played Horizon Zero Dawn. I've kind of not because I didn't think the game looked fun, but it's a game where I know I'm gonna have to invest time in, and I don't have time right now.
Same for me. Yeah.
But again, looks really awesome. I actually can't wait till it comes out. I will probably buy Zero Dawn when it gets like a Game of the Year edition or something, just because that'll probably be by the time I have time to play it. But the Frozen Waste actually looks pretty cool, and you're going to get snow and some new weather mechanics and new gameplay mechanics. One game that a lot of people didn't see coming was Monster Hunter World.
This looks intriguing.
It does, but so the thing was, Nintendo has had a very tight grip on Monster Hunter for years, and so I'm surprised that Sony managed to kind of get the license away from this, get the license away from Nintendo for this.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a more open world Monster Hunter game, which I'm surprised they're not cross-selling with Nintendo.
It does seem odd, doesn't it?
This seems like something Nintendo would want to do. Though one thing we'll talk about when we get to Nintendo. I'm not a huge fan of the Monster Hunter games. I have tried to be. I have bought a couple of the 3DS ones. They are too complicated for me to want to put the effort in.
Agreed.
So for the people that love Monster Hunter, this is actually kind of probably a huge boon to them, because now they can play it in glorious PlayStation 4 graphics.
Way too complex for me, for my pathetic patience.
Like I said, I've tried multiple ones, and I've even tried to get the ones where they say like, "Oh, this one's new player friendly." I play maybe 30 minutes, and I'm like, I have no idea how I'm even supposed to attack this monster. Like, I'm just getting my ass handed to me every single time. One thing they did announce was a Shadow of Colossus remake.
Oh wow!
I loved Shadow of Colossus, and this is not a reboot, according to them. This is a remake, so it's it's not an HDR upgrade. They actually remade the game.
This is a blast from the past now. Yeah, that was a pretty cool game back at PlayStation 2, I believe.
PlayStation 2, yep. Mm-hmm. And then they did an HD release for PlayStation 3, which I have that. That's the one I actually own, but I did play it back on PlayStation 2. And now they've completely remade it with PlayStation 4 graphics and that level. Yeah, my dogs are really super excited about Shadow of Colossus.
Shadow of Colossus remake. That's fine. It's good. Cool.
One thing that will be cool is, so the original Shadow of Colossus had a bunch of colossi that were cut from the game for various reasons. Either they didn't get them done in time or the mechanics didn't work. It'll be kind of cool if they add those back in, because there's some spaces where the area is there. It's just empty now.
Cool.
Or people have like clipped through the level and found where they kind of took the whole area and shoved it off to the side.
Yeah.
So that you can still find ways to access it, and the colossi are there, just they never had their stuff completely fleshed out. So it'd be cool if they actually went through and finished it up.
They built a wall and made the Colossus pay for it, so it's all good.
Pretty much, yes. That
Cool.
is the that's a Japanese company, not an American company. So they were truly innovators at the time. Speaking of zombies, they displayed some more of Days Gone, which seemed to run at a glorious 20 frames per second.
Man, that's not anything to get excited about until more details emerge. I think
there has to be more to it than just what it looks like. Otherwise, it's a bad Far Cry ripoff with zombies. Nothing special. God of War, they showed off some more stuff from that. I'm actually kind of looking forward to Dad of War. Some of the new gameplay stuff they showed off looked really nice. I've never not liked the God of War stuff.
No, I think
so. This will be a good addition to that series.
That'll be intriguing. I think I agree.
The new Spider-Man game looks pretty nice. The web slinging, which is one of the reasons why I have not liked a lot of the other Spider-Man games that have come out, I think, since Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2.
I don't think there's been a good Spider-Man game, has there?
Not since PlayStation 2, I don't think.
No, I mean ever. I don't think I ever played a good Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I think it's either Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2 in the PlayStation 2. They got all of the pieces right, and it's actually a fun, engaging game, other than the collectathon kind of thing that it is.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game, which is going to come out in tandem with Homecoming, but not based on Homecoming, looks pretty good.
I mean, the only thing I would say about Spider-Man is, like, if they made a Spider-Man game that was similar to Infamous Second Son, then they would have a massive winner. Just take that engine and put Spider-Man in it.
That does look like more what the new Spider-Man game looks and kind of feels like. One game that I'm on the fence about is Detroit Become Human. So what this is a story-based game, kind of like Life is Strange and I think what's Black Rain, something like that. Where you kind of watch and then you decide using QuickTime events what you want to happen. And so there's supposed to be a whole bunch of huge branching things with this. The kind of plot is you are androids, and it's the whole android kind of uprising, like, do they have sentience, should they be free, that kind of stuff. So the trailer this time around had you controlling an android freedom fighter, it's probably the best term for it, where they were rescuing some androids from a store where you could purchase them. Where the trailer they announced last year, you were a cop, you were an android that was employed to be a hostage negotiator with other androids, and things happen and you have to make a QuickTime event, and then what you do changes the game, including up to people that you play as can die and the game will continue on, but the story will branch off having that person died. So that kind of, if the storytelling is done correctly, it may be a very interesting game.
It sounds dreadful, but yeah.
For you, yes, probably.
Yeah. I'll be in a weird way though. Let me give a caveat. I'll be intrigued to find out, to see that, like in a Let's Play or something, and to see how it does. It's interesting, but it doesn't sound entertaining for me. So
yeah, and I think there's an aspect of where you can go back and redo parts of it, or something, or it may just been the way they were showing off the branching paths. Okay. But each playthrough theoretically would be different depending on what aspect you go. If it turns out that it's like you're just working to like 3 different endings, that's kind of bullshit, because the branching paths don't matter. So they need to have enough endings for this to make sense. So Sony's was basically a lot of stuff we've already announced, a couple new things. So it's kind of a mishmash, but it was all basically trailers from their E3 showcase stuff. The one that I was actually kind of intrigued the entire way through, this was a fairly short one, was Nintendo's kind of pre-recorded package thing that they did. Okay. Which was basically We're going to throw a whole bunch of stuff out at you, tease you with a whole bunch of stuff, but please go buy our Switch because we want to make even more money compared to what we've made thus far. So in no particular order, they announced Metroid Prime 4.
Cool.
Have you played the Prime games?
I have not played the Prime games. I have.
You should.
No, let's put a caveat. I haven't owned the Prime games. I have had a go at 2, I think. Don't quote me on that. And it was a lot of fun. I just haven't had a platform ever where I could own one since I had the Switch now. So if that's coming for the Switch, then 2 thumbs up. Will buy.
Yes. Don't know when it will come out. They haven't really announced it. They did announce a 3DS game. Not companionish, not necessarily a companion game, but they did announce a 3DS game too. But Metroid Prime 4 is in development for the Switch, and that's basically the entire trailer. It made a couple sounds, looked all spacey, and said Metroid Prime 4 is in development.
Well,
which I will take. That's I love the Prime games. They showed off a new unnamed Kirby game, which is more like an actual Kirby game, not the Kirby Epic Yarn style games. Which the Epic Yarn games were pretty fun, but they're very low key, they're very casual. This is more of an actual traditional Kirby game in 3D, which would be great to carry around. It's also coming out for the Switch.
Cool.
They announced a new Pokemon game for the Switch, and not just Pokken Tournament, an actual honest-to-God Pokemon game for the Switch.
Meh. I guess I would play that with my daughter. I don't know. I don't know if I would buy that. I've never cared about Pokemon, so not my cup of tea.
I would be interested to see what new mechanics they come up with, considering the fact that online play is much bigger now. Like Nintendo seems to be trying very hard with their online stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
But then also the fact that you can take your Switches and they're powerful enough that you could theoretically sit there and play the game together, and having 2 Switches communicate, which would be pretty neat.
That would possibly be interesting. The next one on our list is my most exciting one, I think.
Rocket League.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna get Rocket League, which is friggin' awesome. With crossplay between Windows and PC.
I mean, that is the amazing thing, really, isn't it?
Yes, I mean that is probably the biggest thing. The Rocket League is pushing very hard, and they got crossplay. The only one they didn't announce was Sony, and according to Sony, because I didn't put it on this list because it was technically Minecraft's already out, but they announced crossplay for Minecraft as well. So if you have Windows 10, the Windows 10 edition, which I think they're calling Bedrock Edition now, the Pocket Edition, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and I feel like there's another version because 4 doesn't seem like enough, but not the Java edition, like the one that I normally play.
Yeah.
All of those are crossplay because they're basically going to run through realms and it's going to work. Sony is not doing crossplay. Would you like to know their reasoning?
Well, I know that they're not allowing crossplay for anything, basically, aren't they?
No, they're not doing any crossplay for no.
Across the board, yeah. But I don't know what the reason is, so yeah, hit me up.
So what they said was, think of the children. Like, that was their reasoning. Like, we can't guarantee online safety for children, so therefore they're not doing it. Which is ludicrous when you consider Nintendo was so afraid of kids accidentally finding other people on the internet. They did the whole stupid friend code thing. If Nintendo is going to do it, then you can't use that excuse. Sony's real excuse that they don't want to tell anybody is because they don't want people to buy other systems.
Well, no, that's it. We want you to have to buy the same. If your friend has a PlayStation, we want you to have to buy a PlayStation.
Yes,
exactly. But we're going to use child safety because nobody can moan at child safety.
No, of course not. But again, if Nintendo is going to do crossplay, then do that. Like, I think Rocket League.
I can't wait. Is that coming for the Switch? Did you say?
Yes, it's coming for the Switch.
Oh my god! So that is
what?
Productivity dead.
what Rocket League does, because you can't do all the same like chatting and like typing and stuff. If you're playing with someone who is on like a console, you will just get canned responses. So like you can do generic things. You don't have to worry about all this stuff. Like there are ways around it. Minecraft is getting around it. Sony's just being a jerk and wants people to buy PlayStations, which I understand from a business standpoint. But we're getting Rocket League on the Switch, and I don't care. We're also getting Super Mario Odyssey, which looks pretty good. It's the gameplay that they showed was basically Super Mario 64 in a city, but you have this neat mechanic where you can like throw your hat, which is not really your hat. It's this possessed hat thing that allows you to possess other creatures.
Cool.
So you can take over Goombas and Bullet Bills and stuff and use them to play with. So I'm sure it will be amazing. I don't know of a bad Super Mario.
It's kind of nice that they've tried to introduce a new game mechanic. I like that. I like that they haven't just said, hey, we can make a new Mario game and we can sell it on the Switch and we'll make millions and millions and millions because everyone will buy it. They have actually tried to sort of freshen it up a bit, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and you can use the motion controls and all that, but you don't have to. Like the online screen prompt will give you both ways on how you want to do it, either using a Pro controller or with the Joy-Cons.
Cool.
So I'm glad they're not forcing you into like, hey, use the Joy-Cons.
Agreed.
Like, move them around. There's a new Yoshi game, another Yarn one, which my wife played the last one that came out, which is Yoshi's Woolly World. Not the 3DS one, but the one for Wii U. Looks pretty good. I'm not a big Yoshi game fan.
Any opinions really on that?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was announced. I have not played any of the Xenoblade games at all.
It's like a pseudo MMORPG, isn't it? Or is it single player?
I don't know if it's...
No, it's a single player.
It's a single player, but it's a Japanese style RPG.
Yeah, that's right. Of course.
Which again is one of those things like I don't have time for those things anymore.
No.
Apparently, Xenoblade Chronicles was pretty awesome on the Wii U, and then I think they did a new 3DS edition as well. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 looks really neat. I'm sure it'll be a perfectly fine game, just not my cup of tea.
More games. That's not going to be a bad thing.
No. And then one thing that I am kind of looking forward to is Fire Emblem Warriors, which looks like it's going to be based off the Dynasty Warriors kind of franchise.
Fire Emblem Heroes, was it?
No, this one's Warriors.
Oh,
Heroes
no, I mean the prequel to that, or whatever, I don't know.
I think so.
I've heard of a game called Fire Emblem Heroes, and I wanted to pretend that I knew what I was talking about, and you called me out on it. Thank you.
Fire Emblem Heroes. Let's see. No, that's a free-to-play tactical role-playing game.
Oh, okay. I'd heard of that, but...
So Heroes is one of the mobile games that Nintendo is
I see, okay.
Yep. So, but Warriors is you get to control somebody and you just get to like lay into mobs and mobs of enemies.
Okay, that could be fun.
I have the Zelda one, which a lot of people didn't seem to like, but I think it's pretty fun. It's one of those games where you just kind of shut your brain off and just mindlessly mow through enemies.
That could be a bit of fun, particularly in a mobile system. That could be intriguing.
Yeah, I played more of the 3DS version of the Zelda Warrior game than I did the Wii U one, mostly because it's like I'm gonna play this for 20 minutes, go through a level, close it, move on. So Fire Emblem Warriors should be pretty good.
I could see that being a nice game to play when I'm traveling and I just have like 20 minutes to wait for something, and I'll just like, that could be fun.
Yes. So honestly, out of everything, the Nintendo announcements were kind of what I was looking for. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Switch is a really, really fun system to have. Like, to carry around. I made the great mistake of, we went on vacation a couple weeks ago, and I left it sitting on the kitchen counter. Because that was going to be the first big test of, I'm going to take this with me and love it.
Dope.
And like, cause we had a 12-hour car drive. So it was like, I told the kids, like, we've got battery packs. You can play Mario in the car, do all this stuff, and then we left it. But honestly,
Well,
having the Switch to just like, there's a lot of times at night where I'm watching TV, I'll just pick the Switch up and start playing for 10-15 minutes. You know, when I'm done, put it back down.
I mean, the great thing about the Switch is I'm going to a conference next week, and we're going to take. I think we've managed to get 4 in the same place, and we're going to have a huge Mario Kart, session.
Nice.
So I will be intrigued to see how. I've never played any of the multiplayer stuff on it, so yeah, looking forward to that. That should be fun with a couple of beers and a few people, and yeah, cool. I shall report back next episode and see how it goes.
Yeah, so and I think Nintendo's was mostly the most fun and my favorite, just because it's here's all the new stuff we're doing, not a lot of here's the stuff we announced last year. It looks slightly better and we're slightly closer to release. That a lot of
and I mean, because there's so few AAA games for the Switch, any announcements are going to be greeted with with a good reaction, because more choice is always a good thing. So yeah, yes, I agree.
And while they didn't announce it specifically, Skyrim, I cannot freaking wait for Skyrim for the Switch to come out.
I mean,
will.
I'm really scared about Skyrim and Rocket League for the Switch. I really am, because I think there's all my time gone right there.
I agree. We will play Rocket League on Switch while we were supposed to be working.
We absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's going to be great fun. So, cool.
Okay, yeah. So that was the bulk of the E3 announcements. We didn't go over everything. Like, I didn't talk about any Ubisofts or EA stuff, but I don't really care too much about them. I mostly pick things that I care about,
and that's fine.
Which is how we run this podcast. It's just things Gary and I like.
It is indeed.
So thank you everybody who tuned in for this, and hopefully this will get you at least a couple of new games that you want to buy. You can follow me on Twitter as @DragonManTank. You can follow Gary as @GH @GEEH. As always, you can get information about the show, and every once in a while we do tweet from the Jerks Talk Games podcast account as @JerksTalkGames. As always, this, as well as the show notes, the MP3 version, and the YouTube version can be found on jerkstalkgames.com. And, of course, you can find us on iTunes, Google Music, wherever you can download podcasts. You should be able to find us. If you can't, come tell us, and we will find a way to make sure that we can get into your ears. Come join our Slack channel. If you go to jerkstalkgames.com, you can join our Slack channel where you can talk about video games with us and other people. I don't have Slack open right now because I'm awesome, but we've talked a little bit about some games recently. I was talking about Crusader Kings 2 a couple days ago.
The Slack is picking up. We've been talking about.
It is.
We've been convincing people to buy Switches and discussing other games and stuff that isn't really game related. So yeah, it's a lot of fun now.
Yes. So come join us on Slack. But with that, Gary, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me about video games.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to do this. You know that.
As always, and to everybody else, don't forget to save your game.